Peace, people. This is Sue, co-owner of Always for Black, and Black is an acronym from Building Lives Through Awareness and Conscious Knowledge. I'm here with the other owner, Miss Baaba. How you feeling today, Miss Baaba?
I'm feeling all right. Can't complain too much. I know that the topic that we're coming to you guys today with is a little bit somber and melancholy, but we will try to go ahead and keep it a little bit up tempo. Um, just to be it's just like you hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is what it is.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So in any event, for today's show, I wanted to entitle it "Black Girls Gone and We Care." The reason why I decided to go ahead and go with that title specifically was because of the fact that I felt that, number one, there has been this whole big issue with Black girls who have gone missing in America, and specifically in DC. And that you try to research and just to even find basic information about the titles of these articles are really what I have a super huge issue with. A lot of them are just pointing out the fact that they haven't garnered any mainstream coverage. A lot of them allude to the fact that no one cares. And although I can see why they can think those things, I just feel like it's important to give a better idea of how we in the Black community feel about it. You know what I mean? I feel like those who do care about it, our voices haven't really been heard. So I would like to dedicate today's show to this topic specifically. And in doing so, I'm going to sound like a huge hypocrite right now, but I do want to touch on a few things, particularly pertaining to the coverage that we have seen. I'm sure as you were getting ready for the show, I don't know how many times you've come across articles, Sool, that basically were quote unquote supposed to be talking about Black girls missing in DC, but then they ended up being something more so as to why there wasn't any mainstream media coverage. So the first question that I did want to toss to you today was, why do you think that it hasn't gained any mainstream media traction?
Well, interesting question. It seems like to make mainstream media, it has to be a story, something they could sell. And there's a lot of people overall that missing. And as you said, specifically Black people, we have an overrepresentation in this category, like we do with too many negative categories. So that's one thing. And as far as mainstream media, the type of stories they cover, it seemed to be like they have to be able to wrap some type of story around it. So the missing people, they often report. And I admit this is anecdotal evidence, because I actually like to study it, have real studies on this. But just from observing, it seems like the missing people they cover usually have a theme. It's usually a woman, a white woman that the general society would say may be attractive, and maybe sometimes a small child, usually white as well. Those seem to be the type of stories that will gain the mainstream attention. And I just want to say this too, because there's hundreds of thousands of people that go missing every year. So it's interesting to see like how they choose to cover, what individuals they cover and what individuals they don't. Because even though they cover almost exclusively white people to go missing, there's still a lot more white people that go missing that they don't cover either. So we gotta keep that in mind too. And also I think class has something to do with it as well. They seem to cover, as I said, so-called pretty white women, usually from, I say, middle to upper middle class or well-to-do families. That seem to be the theme.
Right. And I definitely agree with you. And you're right. And I'm glad that you took it to that point, because I did want to also mention that it's not only black females that are missing. There's black males missing as well, but you rarely ever see those stories covered.
Matter of fact, with
Um
missing people, the majority of missing people was actually males. When I was doing my research for this story, actually was surprised about that. Overall, 52% of missing individuals are actually males. I wouldn't have guessed that before I looked into it. And you can get some of these numbers too if you go directly to the FBI website. And matter of fact, if you don't mind, Miss Baaba, before we get too into the story, just to give the viewers a little bit of context, you mind if I read off some numbers of missing?
no, go ahead. That would be great. Thank you.
Right. So, as I said, I looked up the FBI site, and you get most of these on there. Also, it's an old USA Today article. This is back in 2014, and they had a really good breakdown. They said on average, 90,000 people are missing at any given time in the US. So this article is back in 2014. So these numbers is from 2014. So 60% of missing people are adults over 18. 40% of missing people are juveniles. 52% are male, 48% female, 56% are white. Among missing persons in the U.S., African Americans are overrepresented. They make up 33% of all missing persons, while they represent 13% of total U.S. population. So this directly from the FBI sites. Again, this particular article is from USA Today. So I would suggest just going directly to the FBI sites, and you can compare through the years. If you go to their site, they have it like, from 2020 on 12, 13, 14, and 15. You can kind of compare each year at the breakdown.
Right. Thank you so much, Sue, for actually giving us the hard facts and the stats on that.
Oh, one more
I think
thing I
that's
forgot too.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
64,000 are women. Our minorities, I believe this actually was from 2013. This is from the FBI site. It was about 270,000 missing minorities. Almost half of them were black.
Right.
So, and out of that, 64,000 was women, and the rest were men. So it's a lot of missing black men, a lot of missing black people out here in general. Although white people in pure numbers are the majority of people missing, by population, because we only about 13% of the population, we almost tripling the our rates. So we are entirely overrepresented. So go ahead, Ms. Baaba.
Right. And thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, number one, for bringing up the stats for those years. I think you went back to, I think the furthest was 2010, I believe you stated.
They have some numbers for 2015.
And then up until 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I
right.
didn't bring too much of the 2015 numbers, but they have numbers of 2015 as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for giving us that information. And that's the large issue that we have as well. Because when you look at pure numbers, sometimes you don't realize exactly what those numbers mean. You can see a number and say, oh, that means that there was 10 people or 10 black people that were affected by something, but there's only 20 black people. That's huge, because that's 50% of the population. So sometimes when we're looking at stats and statistics, it's important to know the percentages of these things and not just the hardcore numbers to gauge whether this is an issue or not. And as you stated, if we're damn near tripling the amount of people who have gone missing within the black community as opposed to the black population in the US, that's a huge issue. And I know that obviously there's certain reasons why we haven't gained traction in the mainstream media, but this goes to my other question that I wanted to pose to you as well, or ask your opinion on. How do you think that we should cover it? Because as I stated, I've seen, I've done research and, the articles that I've read. It's unfortunate that there was a few articles that actually named the girls who were missing, but to give their backstories or to try to find out any hardcore evidence or information about them personally, it's very difficult to do so. You will see in almost every article is the fact that it hasn't gained this mainstream media coverage. So do you think that by mentioning that the girls are missing, that's enough? Or do you think that we should maybe go about it, take control ourselves? And when I say ourselves, I'm referring to black media outlets. How should we be covering this?
Well, there are several different things in that. And first, like, just bringing attention to it in the first place is good because it got the conversation started. But as we say, after that initial step, what do you do? And as far as I can see, the mainstream media is still not really covering this story. It being amongst, our circles, among Black circles, Black YouTubers, Black Twitter, Black media outlets. But as far as mainstream media, still haven't seen too much coverage of this story. That's one thing. And I think how we should cover it is actually treat them as human beings, because too often we have them just as a number. Like you said, try to get some background information on it. And this is one of the other problems in media as a whole. There is a lack of basically real journalists right now. There's a lot of people giving their opinion, and I'm not a real journalist. My major was political science. I have opinion. I can give informed opinions, but I'm not really a journalist. Now that's your area because that was your degree was in journalism.
Right.
So we got a good partnership when it comes to that. But you'd be surprised how many so-called media outlets don't really have real journalists. They have writers that give their opinion, and there's a difference. And a lot of people don't understand that difference between a journalist and somebody that's writing with an opinion, or somebody on TV that just have an opinion compared to a journalist. Like I said, there's a real difference. And the media as a whole is lacking this, and they specifically lacking investigative journalists too. As we build up Always for Black, that's one that I feel like I'm echoing in the background for whatever reason. I'm hearing myself.
No, I don't hear an echo.
Yeah. Okay. But that's one of the things that I want to do as we build up Always for Black. I would love to hire, real journalists, real investigative journalists, so we can actually, not just go to DC, but a lot of different areas and see what's going on with these type of issues. Like see what's going on with, why are there so many missing young Black females, and what's happening to all the Black males that's disappearing. Where, like, are they runaways? Because I know a lot of times the police don't investigate these stories because they feel like they just runaways. Like, are they really runaways? What's going on? If they are runaways, why are they running away from the situation? What are their backstories? What's their background like? Stuff like this is important. And I feel like if media outlets, if we can start getting, those type of stories to basically humanize the individual and not just look at them as a number. Oh, okay, that's another missing person. I think that would help our cause amongst ourselves. And, because we can't depend on the mainstream media to do anything with us. As I said earlier, they don't even report a lot of white people that get missing. They're not going to do us justice, and because a lot of times, for whatever reason, some of these outlets don't look at us the same. For whatever reason, they will say, no, we do, but right. We know for a fact that they don't. So it's up to us to start telling these people's stories and actually relating it to our own community. So that's my opinion on it. But I don't begrudge anybody that want to get on mainstream media, because if you get it on an outlet like CNN, it might, it cause more attention, and maybe somebody seen this missing person. And you get on mainstream media outlets, I guess the theory is that it's more likely maybe some of these cases will get solved. But the sure value of missing people, I just don't know how many of these individuals they will actually cover anyway. So I know I just said a lot there. So I'll toss it to you.
Now that was all good stuff. And I'm about to sound so extra militant, and I really don't give two flying fucks right now because I am very angered. I'm utterly frustrated about it, but it's not about me. It's about these young females who are gone. One thing I will say that really irked my nerves is the fact that they started to call them. I came across a few articles that called them. They referred to them as something that they weren't. Like they use the terminology that kind of took away their innocence. Like at the end of the day, all these girls that were missing, I think the count was from the beginning of this year in January, the count was 15 in DC to date. Black girls who are missing. Their stories, as I stated, I'm not too familiar with any individual one of them. And that's one thing that I would like to have this segment be like an ongoing thing, so we can constantly provide you with updates, because that information is just really super hard to find. But I also noticed that sometimes the way that we refer to these girls can also take away from their innocence as well. Like if you know that it's an 8-year-old that's missing and you're calling them like a young woman or something like that. No, it's a little girl. Just like terminology that really frustrates me. There's a few things that frustrate me as well. I will say that I do agree with you that being able to have these particular stories, because they are so very important, being able to have them in the mainstream media would be beneficial in some ways. It does give a lot more attention to the stories. A lot more people would become aware of it. Maybe there will be riots, or maybe there will be people marching, or maybe there will be a lot more people that's just overall involved in trying to assist and help, or force others who are in positions of power to assist and help as well. So in that aspect, I can agree with it. But then on the flip side, this is where it gets I get on my little militant. I get a little bit militant with it. And I honestly feel like, why do we continue to rely on mainstream media to tell our stories when they don't really, that at the end of the day, they really don't give a flying fuck about us anyway? I know that they're not stating it because they honestly care. I know that they're not stating it because it's something that's of interest to them. They're looking at pure numbers, at the end of the day, and that's all it really is to them. So I would much rather prefer that they don't speak on it if I know that they're not gonna have the right level of reverence for these young girls who are missing. Time we do need numbers, and I think that's where we have to, me and you, everyone that's listening to this is where we are able to pull our power as well. I know that there was so many different articles that were circulating on social media. Every time I came across something, I did read it through, and then I tried to share it on my Facebook page personally, and then there was others who went ahead and shared it as well. So shout outs to those people who just were willing to get this information out there and just trying to circulate this information to awareness, because that's ultimately what it really is about. Now, so yeah, to answer the question that I asked, like, how should we be covering these stories and what would I do differently? I feel that it's very beneficial to go ahead and try to, but to do so from a place where we are, like you said, to bring back the art of investigative journalism. we don't have the manpower today for Always for Black to go and hit the ground running and be in DC and, pressing these people in person. But eventually we will get there. But that's the ultimate goal, being able to hold people accountable for the things that they do, the things that they aren't doing. And in this case, there's a lot of things that haven't been done. Now I wanted to ask you another question. Do you believe that there's, in your opinion, would be the possible reason for these type of numbers that we're seeing today? Because obviously we already know that this is not a new issue, but we have seen an increase. Do you think that it's purely coincidental, or do you think that it's something more sinister?
I don't know. I would need more evidence to decide one way or the other. One thing I will say is this: because we on probably every negative statistics, a lot of it have to do with the conditions we live in. It make it easier for us to be missing without, getting a lot of attention from the police. You already know the relationship in Black communities with the police departments are not good right now, and actually they haven't been good since police was formed. So oftentimes, if we having problems with police just doing routine traffic stops, are some of these detectives and some of these police officers, are they really investigating these cases thoroughly like they should be investigated? Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times they call these cases runaways and they don't give it the attention they need. Also, we talk about police having resources, and you have people like Trump saying that we're going to give police departments the everything they need and all that. It just seemed like that just more for terrorizing us. But if you're going to give them the tools they need to really help the community, one of the things you can do is allocate more money for issues like this, something that really affect us. Okay, we having all these missing Black people, all these Black people just suddenly becoming missing. Is it going to be a division dedicated to that? Kind of like sometimes they have divisions dedicated to the public transportation cops. They have, in some cities they have housing police. There need to be more, money allocated to this. But we can't depend on that. That's going more to politics, just as far as what we can do ourselves to help the situation. You got to really talk to your children from when they're younger and when they become, adolescents and get to that age. When I was younger, it was drilled into me: don't talk to strangers, don't go with anybody strange, from a little kid. And, as a teenager, I didn't think I would have to worry about this as much as a teenager as, a teenage female will have to worry about this. But there's a lot of older guys that prey on younger women and younger men too, but specifically, younger women. Like, 'cause I remember when I was in high school, there was a lot of females dating guys that was like in their 20s. Like they might be 16, they dating 23, 24-year-olds. And that just, is kind of weird and leads to those type of situations. So we got to teach our people in our community to watch each other back and just look out for anything strange, anything weird that's going on, to basically help curb this problem. And at the same time, putting pressure on cities, police departments to do their end of the job. When somebody is missing, no, just don't look at it as a throwaway case. No, this is somebody's child. You need to really investigate this case seriously, and that's just my suggestion.
Right, definitely. And I would just wanted to say that we definitely do. We at Always for Black, we definitely do stand in solidarity with those families who are missing their young girls today. this is particularly about the young girls, but those young Black men who are missing as well, because we care. We are always for Black. We definitely do care, and there's so much that needs to be done. And I know that we aren't in a place where we are doing as much as we can, but there's always so much more that we can do, and that's something that will always push us to work harder and go harder. It is unfortunate, and I'm glad you mentioned this as well. When it comes to these cases, like a family can call in an incident of their child being missing, right? First and foremost, I believe it depends on the age of your child, when that time frame is. I know if you're 18 or older, you have to be missing for at least 48 hours or so before you can claim a person missing. But if you're younger than that, then there's stipulations on how long a person has to be gone. But then they do like this psychoanalysis to try to understand the background of the behaviors of this child. And in doing so, that's what they use to determine whether this is a true missing person, or is this something where the person may have ran away or what have you. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to differentiate foul play from, and to be honest, I don't think that that's any a police officer should ever have the power to do. Because even if it wasn't foul play and they were just being defiant, doesn't that child still need to be found at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't excuse them from not being with their families at the end of the day. So I just feel like there's a lot of, the way that it's currently set up, there's definitely so much room for improvement. One thing I will say, we're talking about ways that we can help. Obviously, mainstream media, I don't even care whether they try to cover the stories or not, because I know that they don't have our best interest at heart anyway. The coverage would be nice, but then that's why I'm stating we do have the power to go ahead and get these type of stories out there to the public if we use our power of social media. We definitely do have numbers, and this time and time again that we have noticed that social media does have, or it holds a certain level of power, but only if you use it responsibly. And I think in doing stories, that's one way to be responsible with it. But aside from that, I did want to say also, there are a few other things we can do. Number one, as you were stating, just teaching your kids right from wrong, teaching them the safeguards, the things to look out for. Not every monster looks like a monster under your bed. Most monsters will look like me and you. Honest with you, you know what I mean? So I think it's just being mindful of the fact versus fiction of what we are teaching our children, so they know exactly what to look out for. Most people won't come to you with the mask on and say, "Oh, I'm gonna kidnap you." They'll essentially look like a normal person, and they may even, try to bribe you in certain ways or try to get to know you or what have you, but they can be very amicable. So just being able to have those real conversations with your children, I think would be beneficial. Also, we can start our own search parties as well. If you know that you're located in the areas of these missing girls, these boys and girls, then you can gather a group of, even if it's just a group, you and a couple of friends, go out and post pictures and be nosy and try to look, and don't leave any corner unturned. And those are things that you can do, and you don't need finances for it. It's certain things that you can do without any permission. You don't need you don't need a large group of people to do it. It can honestly just be you and a couple of people, or you even yourself. And then also, I think it's important to try to figure out what these punishments are as well. That's one thing that I did, and I thought maybe I should look it up afterwards. Once an abductor is caught, like what happens to them? I know it may be different in every state, but just understanding exactly what the consequences are for those people who are found to be abductors to children. What exactly is their punishment? And should that punishment be changed? Should it be lengthier? You know, what are some things that we can possibly do to deter people from being the in this situations? But yeah, it's really sad. It's really unfortunate, and I think what makes me even more upset and lost and hurt and everything is because of the fact that, like, me and you, Sool, we're sitting here and we're pretty much just stating that we care, right? But how do you constantly tell someone that you're valued and, you know, we care for you and we care about you, but meanwhile everyone else in the world is constantly just throwing them on the wayside? How does someone how could one of these young girls or boys really feel any value or any worth knowing that their story may never get out there? And the reason why I'm stating that is because, like, you know, in certain situations, I'm sure we've all heard about the big infamous cases that have media attention, and some of those stories even made it to like a Lifetime movie. But here we are talking about 15 girls, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you anything personal about any of them. Like, how is it that we can do a better job of explaining how important someone is if the world teaches you otherwise?
Well,
Possibly.
yeah, I just think it starts at home with the family. Like, if your children or even your nieces, nephews, little cousins, I'm definitely echoing it. I'm definitely hearing the echo. But I don't know if the my voice is bouncing off the mic and going back in, but I'm definitely echoing right now. I can hear it. But yeah, I think it starts with, yeah, still echoing.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I think it's the
Try it
mic
now.
because you got I think it's the mic. I think it's coming in the mic and then bouncing back. But regardless, I think it starts at home where they feel the love at home first. You know, if your family, if you get that initial love from the people that's closest to you, a lot of times you might not even think about, okay, what the world think, if you know that there are people close to you that's going to miss you if you're gone. You know, I think that's how we start. And also we could start by mentoring people, going back to the neighborhoods if you're not in that neighborhood, um, going back to hard to do neighborhoods and like really showing them, really coming back and let them know that somebody cares. Like, I mentor, I know you doing it too. A lot of these, they might not show it right away, but a lot of times they appreciate it and let them know that people out there care. So it's up to us to do that. And the only way you can do that is to do that by example. Come around, you know, and not just like once a year, but come around often and be there for them.
Right. Very valid point. And those are definitely words to live by. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that as a promise to myself and a challenge for myself to say that it's more than just saying. We definitely have to give back and do. And by doing so, as you stated, even mentoring. Sometimes that I'm not sometimes I've found that it definitely does help. But just being able to show someone that you care, regardless of whether things are going good or bad, I think that definitely would feed into the life of our youth. So I would definitely recommend and challenge all those out there to go ahead and try to give back in some sort of way, shape, or form. And as it pertains to these children, these beautiful Black children who are missing, I definitely want to say I hope that they make it home soon. I'm still remaining hopeful, sending positive vibes to the family and friends to, remain strong throughout this time and don't give up. Sad to say, but I'm almost done with trying to rely on outsiders to understand our plight or to have our back or to join forces with us. I'm on some shit. I'm just like, we have to. I'll rather give us back the responsibility and let us try to figure out ways to do it
I
ourselves.
mean, we have to. I mean, we just have to. You cannot depend on anybody else
Right.
to feel your pain. They might, and they
Right.
might give slight sympathy or pity here or there, but nah, man, we gonna build this thing up, man, because we got a lot of work to do. I know sometimes it can feel overwhelming because in so many areas we behind right now, but you got to think, they had a head start on us, a major head start, and we haven't had that long to catch up. But I got confidence now. It's starting to become more of us that's becoming awake and that want to handle business in our own community. You got more people that trying to get involved in business, trying to create a black economy. You got people talking about education, talking about different issues in the community. And don't get me wrong, is still an overwhelming majority of us that's not doing what we're supposed to do and not talking about these issues. But it's going to take a few of us to break out and really, show the way. And you never know who you going to enlighten and wake up just by talking about these issues. So, as hard these stories are to hear, we got to do it, man. We got to listen to it, and we got to have these discussions even when it's difficult.
Right. And I'll I'm I mean, as I stated, this particular story definitely has made me very somber, melancholy, and all these things. But I kept it together. I didn't cry. So
Yeah. I,
I didn't cry, but
Hey, I
it's
mean,
definitely tough.
sometimes you gotta let it out, man. Like, oftentimes I feel like black people, we supposed to be so strong. And back in the day, that was one of the stereotypes for us, that we had, that we can take a lot of pain. I watched, no spoilers, but I watched Underground yesterday. And on the show, it mentioned how the Negro woman have like some type of supernatural ability to take pain. Like, that was one the white people said on the show on Underground. You don't watch Underground; it's a great show, by the way. But that's what she said. The Negro woman have an uncanny ability to take pain, and you know, oftentimes that's how we looked at, and even amongst ourselves, sometimes because we have such a hard life, that we taught, just push forward, suck it up, shit happens. But, and that is true. We got to move forward because life is hard. But at the same time, you got to vent your feelings sometimes. You got to let it out. So if you need to cry about these issues, no judgment. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do as long as you keep pushing forward.
Oh, that was the sweetest thing ever. But I'm not gonna cry on camera. I'm not even gonna lie, I have shed a tear because it is very unfortunate to me. Um, and it's something that is very personal to me as a black woman. But it is what it is, and it's just time for us to just go ahead and do things that are in our power. So instead of feeling helpless and feeling like there's nothing that we can do because we may feel but so we're so small. Um, Ask yourself a question. If you see that there's an issue within the black community and you know that there's some change needs to be made, instead of saying, oh, I don't have this or I can't do this, what can you do? What can you do to benefit the situation? And there's always going to be something, no matter how small it is. Because if everyone thought that way, imagine how we can come, if we just take on a little bit of the responsibility at a time and help build each other. So those are my last thoughts. And as I stated previously, I just do hope and send out very positive vibes to those our young Black youth, and hoping that they do remain safe and eventually make their return home.
Definitely. I co-sign that 100%.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, we are out for today's session. I know that we will be joining you guys again tomorrow, and we have some other heavy hitting issues as well. Um, yeah, so it's going to be a good time. And we got some really good news to tell you guys tomorrow, possibly.
Yes, yes. Definitely. Definitely. Long time coming, but we'll get to that tomorrow.
Right, right, right. But as of tonight, I am your host, Ms. Baaba, and this is Sool, or I mean, definitely.
Got it right. Got it right. That's what's up.
I did.
That's what's up, man.
I was almost 100% sure I was gonna butcher it. Me nice. Is that the third one? Me nice.
Yeah. I can't even do it like I want to. You can see my eyes. My eyes is barely open. I'm so tired right now. Been a long day. But this was an important subject, so we had to talk about it, no matter how tired that we were. You know, this was an important subject, and you know, I'm glad we was able to discuss it with y'all. So,
right, absolutely. So until tomorrow, guys. Peace out.
Peace.